Hello, welcome along to Sportsbet TV. I'm looking forward to racing on Saturday, the 11th of November. Paul Alster with you here. And I have two free selections for you at Sportsbet today. If you happen to be finding this channel on YouTube for the first time, then just press the subscribe button, and then henceforth you will be able to get my selections free and get a notification when my tips are available. I'm with you every weekend. Last week there were a couple of selections which didn't run as well as we would have hoped, but as I'm sure regular followers know, we've been in really good form and had a massive double the weekend before. Now, Saturday I've got selections for you at Newcastle and also at Aintree. And while we didn't have a good time of things here last weekend, we had a good time of things at Out in Front. I really think you should give it some consideration about joining us. It's only £25 a month. It's all the weekend racing. It's particular midweek races that are of interest, and of course all those big meetings. And there's some wonderful jumps racing coming up over the next few weeks and months as we build up towards Christmas. So think on about joining us. It will be a shame for you to miss out, because there's been so many good tasty prize winners on that particular service over the last few weeks and months, and it is showing a very good profit. And remember as well, there's no tie-in whatsoever either. You can leave at your leisure should you choose to do so, but why would you? Anyway, let me take you to the first of my two selections for Saturday. Now, the Doncaster card that normally brings the curtain down on the turf season has been lost due to the ground there, and they've switched it to Newcastle, which is a strange choice because we're on the Tappiter. But there are some decent horses running, and one of the races of interest is the 130, the listed race that is called the Gillies Fillies Stakes, over 1.25 miles. There are 13 runners. The race that has quite a bit of bearing on this is a race run at Newmarket 4 weeks ago. It's called the Pride Stakes, a Group 3 race, and it was run on the very undulating Rowley Mile on soft ground, so you couldn't have anything any more different. They're now being asked to run on a pretty flat galloping track on the all-weather surface at Newcastle. That said, the race was won by a horse called Novice, but also in that race were Veil of Shadows, trained by Charlie Appleby, who's going to run here and was second that day. Rousseau for Richard Hannam was third and runs here. Persist for William Haggas was ninth, and Khaadem for Roger Varian was a 32-length 10th of the 11 runners. Now, all four that have moved over and are going to take their chance on Saturday, they all have some sort of all-weather form, but at the likely odds, I think of the four, Khaadem may run much better, because I think simply she hated the soft ground at Newmarket a few weeks ago. So she could well run well. And Roger also has a Sound Angela, placed 3 times this season, including in listed company, and including on the all-weather at Kempton in the spring. So she's a horse with a good level of all-weather form. And her latest run was third at Saint-Cloud in France, and that suggests she's holding her form well. Big odds, David O'Mara has one called Zarabanda, who has been really progressive through a handicap company in the second half of the season on turf, winning 3 times and improving over a stone. And you know, when these players hit form, they can really improve very, very fast. And she won with a lot in hand at Hamilton last time out. This is a much tougher task, but there's no doubt she's in good heart, and that she's big odds. So that's one you can maybe have a think about. It's also very interesting that the great Dermot Weld runs a filly called Gilada here. She's a decent handicapper, and she's also placed in listed company. That was in July at Killarney. And she runs in Dermot Weld's own colours. He owns her. He's paying the bills. So he's not sending here to please the owners. She's already got some black type. So I think the fact that he chooses to do her over is quite an interesting point in its own. But I'll take you on to my selection now, and it's the other Irish runner. She's called Vera Verto, and she's trained by Gavin Cromwell and the mount of Rob Hornby. She's a talented filly, a dual-purpose filly. She's won 3 of her last 6 flat starts, including at Newmarket over 1.5 miles in a handicap in early October, prior to finishing second last time out over 1.75 miles in a listed event on very testing ground at Bath. Now that would lead you to think she's a bit of a slogger, and 1.25 miles on this quicker surface might not suit. I'm not sure about that. because she's a free-going filly, and I don't think there was much left to hang on to over the 1.75 miles for sure. And I think the fact that they're going to drop her back here to 1.25 miles probably allow her to stride on. And I think she'll get a lot of these flat to the boards before the 2 furlong marker. And if she can keep it going, and we know she's won over 1.5 miles not so very long ago, she might just take a bit of pegging back. She might also be a very interesting horse for those of you that like to play on the machine, on the exchanges, as one to back and maybe lay off in running. But this horse, enjoying a fine autumn, is 12 to 1 each way for 4 races with most firms at the time of this recording at 6:30 on Friday evening. So Vera Verto is my first choice of the 2 I'm offering you free on Saturday. Let's hope she runs really well. Gavin Cromwell having a very, very good autumn. And then they're racing at Aintree on Saturday, and they're racing over the Grand National fences at 2:45 in the Grand Sefton Handicap Chase. Now, it's going to be pretty much heavy ground. They had to inspect the course on Friday morning because it was very testing, but I don't think there's been any significant further rain, but that means it might be very sticky, sort of bog-like conditions. It isn't the spectacle it normally is, this race, with maybe 20 runners or whatever. Only 11 runners have declared, probably because trainers knew this was going to be a real slog. So it's quite likely there might not be too many finishers. One horse that likes the ground and loves the fences, though, and is going to be hard to keep out of the frame, is Jesskill, trained by the red-hot combination of Oliver Greenall and Josh Guerrero. They are absolutely flying at the moment, and this horse failed by just a nose in a memorable finish on this race 12 months ago, just edged out by Aldancer. That was on good to soft ground. And he backed it up again, proving it no fluke when he was second, again over these fences over 1/2 mile further in the Beecher Chase the following month. And he came back for the April Grand National meeting. He ran 9th in the Topham Trophy. And just to prove his well-being already this season, he's won a listed chase on testing ground in France, in Paris, no less, at Auteuil, which is France's #1 jumps track. So he's got plenty going for him, and he is going to be the main one to beat, I think. But he's not going to have it all his own way. Nicky Henderson, who of course has won races over the national fences but never won a Grand National, going back to the days of classified and things like that most of you under the age of 40 will never have heard of. Did he train Zongolero as well? I think in the 70s, I can't remember. But anyway, Nicky Henderson's got Fantastic Lady here, and she certainly lived up to her name when she was a really good second at the Grand National meeting in the Topham Trophy over the national fences. And after that, she ran 3rd in the Grade 2 Oaksey Chase at the end of the season at Sandown. So she's a really good mare. She jumped the fences really well, but she's got 12 stone in this bottomless ground. That's quite a task first time out. Now, a horse that I tipped for the national, actually, and ran really well, Born by the Sea. He's running here for Paul Gilligan. He ran a marvellous race to get the each-way money for us at big odds to be 6th in the Grand National. And I've got to say that when they crossed the Manning Road, I thought he was going to win. He jumped over these fences as good as anything I've seen jump the fences in years. Of course, they're much smaller than they used to be, but they still take some jumping. But he ran out of puff going down towards the final fence and the long run in, eventually finishing 6th. Now, he's been busy through the summer over in Ireland, over the jump, so he won't lack for fitness. The problem for him, I think, is the heavy ground. I'm not sure that he's going to be able to show his best on this surface. If this was good to soft or thereabouts, I'd probably be with Born by the Sea, but the ground, I think, is a problem. And then you've got an interesting horse called Cooper's Cross for Stuart Coulthard, who's a nice staying chaser. And this one was still going well in the Topham Trophy over the big fences when he fell 4 out. But he was unlucky because the horse jumped across him, put him off, as they often do at the national course. And that was Goodnight Vienna. He might have gone close had he stood up. He handles testing ground. And he's only 3 pounds higher than that last visit here. And of course, he ended the season running a blinder to be 2nd in the Scottish National. So he does stay. So Cooper's Cross is interesting. But my choice here is a horse called Percussion. Laura Morgan trains and Gavin Sheehan is on board. This horse will be sick of the sight of Jeskill, because it was third behind him in this very race last year, and then it was third behind him again in the Beecher Chase last December. Getting closer though, beaten 8 lengths the first time, beaten 3 lengths the second time, and now £3 better off than that 3-length beating. So they really shouldn't be a lot between them. Also, this is one making its return to action, but it's a horse who has run well after a break. And the encouraging thing as well is that after quite a long while, when Laura Morgan's horses were back out of form, just started to run better in the last 10 days, and she had a winner earlier this week. So that is a real positive for Percussion. The ground is not a problem because it's one on heavy. Gavin Sheehan, the jockey, is flying at the moment. I think he's had 9 winners in the last 10 days or something. So he's absolutely riding out of his skin. And I think at 10-1 each way for 4 places, Percussion is the value to finally get its head in front at the main expense of Jeskill and probably Nicky Henderson's mare, Fantastic Lady. So that's my choice for you. 1 on the flat, 1 over jumps on Saturday. Remember, if you want more selections, then join me at Out in Front. If you sign up now, you'll be able to get the selections for Saturday, and there'll probably be 1 or 2 as well on Sunday. But for now, from me, Paul Alster, I wish you a great weekend and lots of luck, and I'll be back same time next week. Bye-bye.